always want to thank him for coming on and connecting the dots, especially when it deals with our economy, or should I say, a lack thereof of a strong economy. But he's always there to highlight. Let me say a pleasant good evening to Oropouche West MP and UNC Shadow Minister of Finance, Dave Tancoo.
Thank you very much, Mikey, and good night to your listening audience.
Thank you so much. Mr. Tancoo, when we have these conversations here, I don't think that it gives you pleasure, as well as myself and many of our viewers, to hear what has happened in our country. I mean, we know for a fact, we live the reality. The middle class has been wiped out. It's all about being in survival mode and trying to keep your head above water with whatever little you have. But getting to the meat of it, the latest business survey published by Ernst & Young in collaboration with the American Chamber of Commerce. Now, compared to last year, 29% of the respondents, of course, last year there was about 24% said that they had no confidence in the economy. But now we're talking about close to 80%, a large percentage of the business community has no confidence in the local economic growth. I mean, and I ask you time and time again, what are we looking at? And you say, listen, it's not a bright picture. And you have an administration who simply, not just the fact that they don't care, but they simply don't even care to listen, to come up with an idea. Our entire economic plan was hitched to this dragon deal. And now you have a prime minister coming with crocodile tears to say, listen, this is not something that we should hope that fails. But my goodness, what else do we have? Go right ahead.
All right, thank you very much. This latest report just confirms what I think we have known all along, and which I've said on your program before, that Trinidad and Tobago is not headed in the right direction as a country under the policies of Keith Christopher Rowley, Kwame Imbert, Stuart Young, and that entire bunch of the PNM cabinet. We are in the wrong direction. When you have a situation where we are dependent largely on the business community, two sectors, the business sector generally, that's the non-oil sector, so I'm just going to generalize them, the non-oil sector and the energy sector, the non-energy sector and the energy sector. The energy sector, the government has pinned all its hopes on one factor, the dragon gas deal, which is now up in the air. Nobody knows where that is going, and I want to treat the dragon gas separately later on. But it's up in the air. Nobody knows where it is going. We have no idea, and the signals that is being sent to us from the United States government is that there are some serious concerns and issues which will probably mean that the dragon gas deal is going to take a long while to come to effect, if at all it's going to take effect. So the government has pinned the economy's hope on the dragon gas. Dragon gas is all up in the air, and now the Prime Minister is telling us our goose cook if dragon gas does not happen. That tells us that the government over the last decade has wasted over $600 billion of our dollars by not transforming the economy, by not investing in new revenue-raising streams, the exact things that we as an opposition have been begging the government to do. So that's the energy sector. In the non-energy sector, we have small and medium-sized businesses, which are the largest employers, which generate the largest contribution to GDP outside of the energy sector. Those small and medium-sized businesses have been begging, pleading for access to foreign exchange, pleading for support to treat with the crime surge that has taken effect in this country, literally begging the government for support, and the government has done nothing about it. So we have that sector as well, which is in decline. So now when you have 4 out of every 5 respondents, that is 4 out of every 5 Trinidadians saying that they have no confidence in the state of the economy. What does that say for investment? What does that say for persons who are now interested in developing the country? When you have no confidence in the economy, that is a frightening situation. It means that you as a businessman or an aspiring entrepreneur are not going to be willing to put your money out in the hope that you will generate revenue. It means that that will create a further downward spiral. And all of that is because of the policies of this government. I have raised these issues before, and in fact, for the last decade, we have been speaking as an opposition about the need to transform this economy. We have done manifestos before. We have provided our suggestions. Even up to last Monday, the leader of the opposition has been publicly presenting our options and our suggestions and recommendations to the government, and they have totally disregarded them.
And you're
Trinidad and
correct.
Tobago is in a crisis now because the government ignored everybody. Small, medium-sized businesses, large businesses, the energy sector, etc. They ignored everybody. They shut down Petrotrin. They have shut down the country of Trinidad and Tobago. They've shut down our economy. And we will start seeing that reflected in the IMF reports, in the multilateral lending agency reports, in Moody's and the Standard. We'll start seeing that in those credit rating agencies, which will start to look at Trinidad and Tobago even worse than they have already started looking.
And you're
that
correct.
means that foreign direct investment is going to shut down. Local, domestic investment has already indicated a crisis. Trinidad and Tobago has only one way to go. Unless we change this government, because government policies over the last decade is what took us here. We have the same people in the same government going back in, asking for permission to do the same things they've done in the last 10 years. If, God forbid, citizens of this country put them back in, we can only predict that we will continue to collapse as an economy.
Yeah, but when you look at it, Mr. Tancoo, I mean, the list itself, based on the report, is something, I mean, government has had so many cabinet meetings, and it really makes you wonder. Forex shortage, that's an issue that they have skirted with so many times and talk about how best they're going to try to put that together. That has not come about. Increased prices. I mean, when you look at increased prices, you're talking about the fact that we as consumers have less purchasing power. They don't even factor in the inflation. Supply chain challenges, again, something that is expected. And then, of course, the crime situation. You know, you and I, we spoke about this time and time again. All of these things have a domino effect. How is it that the administration does not understand that the issue of crime will affect everything, especially the business community, the confidence of the business community, even consumer confidence? I mean, we have been in a situation here where looking on, one really makes you wonder then what were the plans of the administration to begin with?
Well, I agree. Clearly, they had no ambition to diversify the economy. They had no ambition to transform the economy away from the total dependence that we have in oil and gas. As a matter of fact, what they did is move the country towards a greater dependence on gas production, but not on domestic production of energy supplies. That is why they shut down Petrotrin. When they shut down Petrotrin, that had a ripple effect on the energy sector, in terms of job creation, in terms of foreign exchange generation, etc. So now Trinidad and Tobago is importing fuels that we used to produce and export and generate foreign exchange and jobs and taxation money. We are now importing it, and worse, we are importing fuels, oil-based fuels, and supplies, oil-based supplies from a country that does not produce oil and gas. Imagine, Jamaica is importing oil to make the products we import that we used to produce, and we were producing oil and producing the same fuel subsidies and the fuel supplements, etc. We used to produce that in Trinidad and Tobago. We are now importing it because we gave up the right to produce. This country has moved away from being a productive enterprise, which would generate more and more revenue and more jobs, to being import-driven. We are importing up to the gas that they are depending on, up to the fuel that they are depending on. And we are not generating the foreign exchange we need to do those imports.
Yeah, and
so
then,
when the Prime Minister tells you that we go cook, it's because they created the situation that we are in the crisis, so that we are in the crisis that we are in.
Exactly.
And I want to ask, Mikey, where's the priority? Where's the urgency? If all the time they depended on dragon gas, and now they know if miraculously they were not listening to the opposition and the rest of the country that was telling them that they had some concerns about dealing with dragon gas and dealing with a sanctioned government, etc. When the government found out several months ago that Donald Trump is now Prime Minister. He's now President. And he has already indicated a direction towards Venezuela. Shouldn't this government, a caring government, a practical government, call emergency session and say, listen folks, how are we going to treat with this? We need to now start looking final because we wasted 9 years and $600 billion. We wasted that in not transforming the economy. We need to do it now because our fears have now materialized. Dragon gas is now in crisis. When did this cabinet meet to discuss those priorities? Where are you seeing, Mikee, a resurgence of interest in generating foreign exchange in some other form or fashion, in giving concessions to businesses to operate, in giving concessions and support to the agricultural sector so we could cut down the $7 billion food import bill? Where's the urgency from the government in treating with crises that we are now confronted with, which we as an opposition was telling them before? I swear that this government was operating on autopilot, delusional. Nobody was at the help. All they were concerned about is filling their pockets and the pockets of their friends and financiers. So we had ministers walking into cabinet and recusing themselves from cabinet hundreds of times so that they could make money while not taking care of the country's business. And clearly, this latest report says this is not a UNC report. This is a reputable enterprise. This is AmCham.
That's right.
Ferguson Young. This is in fact furthest away from the UNC. These are independent organizations that are now telling the country what we have been saying before, that people do not have confidence in the economy growing. They have no confidence in calm input. They have no confidence in the ability of this government to take this country forward and upward, because the trend has been over the last decade continuously downhill. They can hide behind COVID all they want, but we are now at a level which is still almost 20% lower in terms of our national production than we were in 2015. Everything is wrong with this. What is required now is for the government to man up, accept that they have been incompetent or unwilling, both of which are unacceptable, and move out.
Well, what we're being told, and I mean, very strong language from you, is that you say that the finance minister is docking responsibility for the major role he has played in the attack on the Auditor General and the millions in taxpayers' dollars. You made it quite clear that a UNC-led government will launch several probes surrounding the country's accounts and balances, particularly current Finance Minister Kong Imbert and the Auditor General fiasco. I think a lot of people really and truly would like to know what is going to come out of that under a UNC government, because again, that belongs to us as the people.
Let me say this. I'm an economist first by training and a lawyer second by training and qualification, right? We have a situation where the country's accounts have been held in abeyance because of the ego of Kong Imbert. You know what is required to solve this, Mikee? A Minister of Finance to call the central bank and the Auditor General together and say, folks, you need to give permission to this lady, this Auditor General, to examine, to audit the figures that you have. Can you all make that happen? That is all enough. That is all. If that were done, that is a 5-second comment. In the 5 seconds I just said, that is all that is required. That's a 5-second meeting. Instead, what we had is Kong Imbert attacking the integrity, spending millions of dollars on lawyers. And when we ask the Attorney General to tell us who the lawyers are and how much they spend, he refuses. Spending millions of dollars of taxpayers' money on lawyers to attack the integrity of the Auditor General because she did her job. You know what the end result of that is? He had to back down and back off. But the lawyers that he hired still made millions. That is unacceptable. What is worse is this has come across as a personal attack. And if it were not a personal attack, if he was acting on instructions and guidance of attorneys, he needs to tell the country who is the attorney, how much he paid, and since the advice was obviously bad because he had to drop his case, after he lost the case up to the Privy Council, he appealed up to the Privy Council and lost, he must now advise us who told him to proceed along those lines. If he proceeded along legal lines, he followed legal advice, or alternatively, if he did it himself because of his little ego, then he should be held accountable.
I agree.
I mean, think about the millions being spent on public sector money, our taxpayers' money, to soothe him, to mamagai him, to fool him, and he is taking these actions. It's an abuse of office. Just like he did with Dwala Rambaran, the governor of the central bank, just like he has done here, taxpayers will have to bear the brunt of Imbu's abuse of office. That is unacceptable.
And I agree with
Since
you.
he's unwilling to provide the information to the public, once we get into office, he will be held accountable for that wastage and that abuse of office.
Now earlier
Because
this
that kind
year,
of abuse is something that the Prime Minister, current Prime Minister, and the new Prime Minister likes. Those are the kinds of abuses that they encourage, which is why, although Imbut has breached every possible regulation he was in charge of, I could speak to many of them, including procurement regulation.
Yeah.
He has breached so many of them. He has been returned as a minister, as a member of parliament again. The PNM is reposing confidence in this man, who now 4 out of every 5 people are saying they have no confidence in, because the economy being in the state is in now is because of the government of Trinidad and Tobago and the policies implemented by Colin. And yet the PNM has confidence in this man to put him up for election again.
yeah, and it really makes you wonder. Now, earlier this year, you made a statement, of course, at one of the UNC Cottage meetings when you spoke about, you questioned the sale of state assets before the election. Now we're hearing about this Nigerian company that is going into a lease agreement with Petrotrin. One has to question whether or not they have the money to at least start the refinery again. And then to fact of the matter, so many shady characters, the fact that they were blocked twice from stock exchange commissions. They got away basically by the hook of a crook because the judge said that in Italy it was out of his jurisdiction. But it makes you wonder when they sit down and they try to lay out plans that, you know, to assist the people of this country. Is it that they only know crooks? Is it that they just gather with crooks? There's always some backroom deal. How come we could never hear about a deal above board that we can say, okay, it has a proven track record, it has been done somewhere in the world, this has been a success story, and now it's finally going to take place in Trinidad and Tobago? Why is it that there's always some cloud, some shady cloud that's always hanging over many of these deals?
Well, Mikey, I cannot answer that question better than you are. Let's just take two topical issues right now: the sale of Petrotrin and the Dragon Gas deal. These are 2 of the largest deals that this government has been involved in. A couple of the others, the China Zhanghu contract that collapsed, multi-billion-dollar deal, etc. We'll treat with that at another commentary like this. But just those 2, Petrotrin sale and the Dragon Gas, the 2 largest deals being made by this government currently. The Petrotrin deal is in the midst of a series of crises of confidence, transparency, and accountability. It cannot be that this government only knows criminals. It cannot be that this government only knows corrupt people. It cannot be. I refuse to believe, although the evidence seems to be clear, I refuse to believe that this government only knows people who are involved in bubble. That they could only engage in deals where things are questionable, where there are all kinds of issues between them. Because both the sanctioned issue and this current sale of Petrotrin is premised on dealing with persons and entities and companies of questionable character. I signaled that this government was going to give this contract, this deal with Petrotrin, to this particular company. I signaled that maybe 6-7 months ago in the parliament,
Yeah.
And I raised the concerns then that this company, just a couple of years ago, could not meet its statutory requirements and had to be delisted in their home country. Imagine now, this is the company that this government is dealing with. Now, I don't know the players in this company or in any of the other companies. What I'm curious about and what my concern is an article that I saw, I think, in today's Express, where a journalist is suggesting, should the government sell off more state assets? It is my view that on the brink of a general election, this government and no government will be involved in the disposal of state assets at this level, at this value, at this point. The leader has already indicated, the leader of the opposition has already indicated that we have significant concerns about how the government has treated with Petrotrin, and we will be looking at this thing. I predicted on Sunday when I did my press conference that there are going to be key players of this PNM administration that will face legal challenges, and do not be surprised if specific ministers find themselves on the inside of prison bars.
Wow.
I want to treat with this Venezuela dragon gas deal
Please, go
from
ahead.
a finance perspective. Just from a finance perspective. Minister Young, a few days ago, told this country in a statement that now this is the man who's going to become prime minister. They're going to breach regulations and breach the constitution and breach the law again, as usual, to do what they want to do. This is the man who Rowley, and I don't think it's the PNM, I think it's just Rowley, has selected to become prime minister. He said, and I quote, payments due to Venezuela consisted of a royalty, a special commission of 5%, surface tax, and social contributions totaling US $1 million, and a confidential signing bonus. The country today, Trinidad and Tobago, doesn't know whether this is a daily, monthly, or annual $1 million US. We don't know. Because last May, Young said that Trinidad and Tobago is already paying part of $1 million US per year in taxes to Venezuela. That's last year. He said part of $1 million US per year. 2 days or three, in fact, about a week ago, less than a week ago, he said that payments were due to Venezuela, totaling $1 million. But let me tell you for what. I want to repeat for what. Royalty. Royalty is based on something that was given to us. How much gas we get from Dragon Gas here? Zip.
Zip.
None.
Absolutely nothing.
So what are we paying royalty for? A special commission of 5%. What is that special commission for? Who is it being paid to? And 5% of what? We are also paying a surface tax. What exactly is this surface tax? Who is it going to? And what is the value of that tax? And a social contributions totaling US $1 million. Who is this social contributions to? What is it for? Specifically, is Trinidad and Tobago taxpayer paying to do some social activity in Venezuela? Is it that we are paying some specific friend, family, or financier of the PNM in Venezuela or in Trinidad for Dragon Gas, which right now is nowhere in the mix? And there's a confidential signing bonus. Why are these things confidential? Who is receiving this signing bonus? You see, when we start talking about money, the government just say things and then the media tends to not focus too heavily on it. Not a single media person, I don't know if Akar Samaro is not in the room at that point in time, but not a single media person has asked who getting all of this money from the government of Trinidad and Tobago and for what? What is the special commission of 5%? What is the social contribution? I shudder to think, because Trinidad and Tobago is in a social and economic crisis. I shudder to think that we are funding people on the PNMs, on the sanctioned government of Venezuela. Because when that comes out, that is going to show a complicit relationship between the government of Trinidad and Tobago, headed by Keith Christopher Rowley and by Stuart Young, who was the pioneer of this illegal deal.
Yeah, but you know the thing,
situation.
Yeah, but the thing about it, Mr. Tancoo, it seems as though they really and truly don't care when this information comes out. I mean, it's a matter of just playing perhaps political musical chairs, having someone now selected who was not elected, always coming up with some distraction to deflect from the issue. $1 million US. And one of the things that came out from the report with Ernst & Young in collaboration with the American Chamber of Commerce is that the Forex shortage has been an issue. It has been a burden for the business community. You have people who bring in cars, begging for foreign exchange. You have micro enterprises, medium enterprises, and we are handing $1 million to a narco trafficking regime, and nobody's to ask questions about this?
Correct. Correct. But you say people are bringing in cars and not getting money. You know who gets in foreign exchange easily? And I've raised this issue about the foreign exchange cartel presided over and facilitated by Calm Inwood. Big businesses, conglomerates, are getting foreign exchange easily. It is the persons who are importing the foreign used cars. The people who are importing the foreign used cars. You know who buys foreign used cars, my friend? You and I.
That's right, the average man. Yeah.
People who cannot afford to buy big vehicles, new vehicles, brand new vehicles will buy foreign exchange. Will buy foreign used cars. That foreign used market was opened up by a UNC government. And it seems that the PNM government has put every block in the way. You would remember that they tried to block foreign used cars coming down not so long ago. They tried to block it not so long ago, and now they found creative ways. They're starving the importers of foreign exchange because the benefit of these foreign used cars coming to Trinidad and Tobago falls to the pocket of the small man. A small man who could not have afforded a feeder could now buy a car and transport himself, especially bearing in mind that the government sabotaged the transportation network of this country. They sabotage the network. Now they're saying too many cars on the road. But fix the transportation system.
Exactly.
These things are so straightforward, but they choose not to because that will facilitate their friends.
And the thing about, again, I mean, when the average citizen hears about the amount of money going here, and you have this lobbyist group in DC, what have we benefited from it? You have so many different things taking place. What do we benefit from these things?
Oh my brother. That lobbyist group. Remember, we also have that in Washington, D.C., we have a high commissioner.
That's right.
Yeah, right? I'm curious. We have paid $12 million US. I don't have the figure in front of me now, but it's about 12 million. In fact, it is 12 million US. I'm counting because they're still paying him. 12 million US. We have people in this country who can't get 200 US when they want to travel.
That's right.
200 US. 12 million US. And they have no linkage. They have no arrangements. They have no guidance that they have pushed the government towards. They have brought no foreign direct investment to this country. What exactly have they done for 12 million? Mind you, the Prime Minister, and I'm saying it publicly, the Prime Minister at another time had advised and reminded the country that this person was his friend.
Yeah.
He reminded him, he was boasting that this is his friend. So I want to know what these people have done, because if they were doing their job, then we would have had a presence in Washington now, discussing, negotiating, representing us in this conversation with the President of the United States and his administration now, so that we would not be petrified as we are now. The Prime Minister wouldn't have to say, our goose is cooked. You know, he wouldn't have to go down that road because we would have been discussing in advance policies, programs, plans moving forward. But nothing like that has happened. So we are paying $12 million to this lobbyist firm, and we have paid an ambassador, a high commissioner. We have paid officers to sit and live in Washington, D.C., and they have not done anything about it. We are in Trinidad in the worst possible position with no space, nobody representing us. And the people who are supposed to be representing us, negotiating with the government of the United States of America to ensure that the OFAC license is extended and other arrangements for dragging gas, the very people, the Prime Minister who calls himself the best negotiator in the world,
and the best salesman,
who calls himself the best negotiator in the world, the best salesman in the world, those two people, instead of reaching out, forget the fact that they threw away $12 million US, and to people, to their friends who have done nothing. Instead of those persons reaching out to the government of the United States of America to say, listen, how can we work together to get this thing done? They are busy attacking, continuing the attack that they have attacked against Donald Trump and the current government of the United States of America. They openly attacking them. What do you think will happen? What are they positioned in this country? This Prime Minister literally, I believe, it's sabotaging willfully. And it's not just him, it's the government of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
Prime Minister 1 and Prime Minister 2.
2.
Rowley 1.0 and Rowley 2.0, that's Stuart Young. Both are zero as far as I'm concerned. They are attacking the very same people we need to help us save Dragon Gas. The very same people that the Prime Minister is now saying, hey, if Dragon Gas is going through, we're in crisis.
That's right.
The people that we should be speaking to, we are insulting and abusing them. We're pushing them away instead of trying to bring them forward. That is the Prime Minister, that is the PNM sabotaging the future interests of this country, sabotaging the lives of citizens of this country. And their whole sets of actions are now compromising the integrity of persons who are seeking to travel. This PNM administration is costing this government. They've already cost us our financial and economic future by the overborrowing. They are now costing us our economic future, our business future, because they've compromised because of this, their policies, their trade policies, their business policies, their economic and monetary policies. They have compromised the business sector in this community. So we are not going to get foreign direct investment, and our largest source of foreign direct investment is where? Is from where? United States, our largest trading partner. Why would you pick a fight? Unnecessary, because there's no reason to pick a fight.
None.
Why would you pick a fight with the person on whom your lifeline depends?
Yeah.
The government, this government, is who has severed the lifeline of Trinidad and Tobago and holding on to a dream from Venezuela.
Of something. I've got to ask you, any closing comments? Go right ahead.
Well, that's straightforward. I think citizens of Trinidad and Tobago must appreciate that there is a solution. We are in a crisis now. We will not get out of this crisis if we depend on this government. We have solutions. The United National Congress has repeatedly, we have a macroeconomic master plan that we provided to the country 5 years ago. If this government had followed each of that, 5%, 1%, we would be in a better state because we talked about national transformation. The United National Congress of the last decade has been giving the government options, opportunities, recommendations to follow. We are now at a point where we know the government will not do better. They can do no better. They have already set their course. We are already clear as to what they will deliver. This country can no longer afford to go downwards. We must lift ourselves. We must build this country. This country has tremendous potential to move forward and upward. There is a plan. The United National Congress has given to the population multiple examples of that plan. We are finalizing our manifesto, but our manifesto is already materialized. We have already seen it put out by the leader of the opposition and others. The manifesto is just a printed version of what we have been saying all these years, offering solutions. If for this country to breathe, is to remove the knee of the PNM from our necks. We can do better. I have the greatest of faith that citizens of Trinidad and Tobago know that we can and we must do better.
Yes,
and that they will vote overwhelmingly for a chance to rescue Trinidad and Tobago. We only win when the UNC win, and when the UNC win, everybody wins.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for linking with us this evening. Do enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will be checking in with you periodically. Best of luck to you and the entire team. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. My blessings to you.